Hi, this is Graham Weber, and you're watching Time to Connect.
Hey, Graham Weber. Man, thank you so much for taking the time to connect.
Thanks for having me, John. It's good to be back.
Yeah, man, you are a repeat customer, and you're only the third repeat customer alongside Will Johnson and Jonathan Blake. So you're in pretty good company there, and that ought to tell you something about how I feel about you, man. I really appreciate you. I love what you're doing, and it's always great to talk to you. It's been let's see, it was April of 2022, so it's been a year and a half since we've talked. Tell us what's been going on with you. A lot, I know, in that year and a half. Give me, if you will, the 2 minute summary of Graham's life in the last 18 months.
Yeah, it's been eventful. Um, uh, yeah, well, a lot's happened, but probably one of the biggest things is that the band has changed a little bit. I was in a band called Western Youth. We parted ways with one of our members, and the five of us, the rest of us, formed this band Restos, Restos, and we released an album at the end of September, this past September, and have been traveling around playing the songs, and that's been a big thing. And resigned from my day job at uh, uh, as a creative director, program director, artistic director, whatever, all a lot of hats for a thing called the House of Songs
Mhm.
that I had done for about 8 years, and just really focusing on playing and spending as much time as I can with my daughter and my wife, and trying to do the thing I really enjoy doing more than anything. So yeah, it's been busy. We've had a lot going on and
Yeah,
been all over the place. So
right on,
yeah,
man.
good
Right
to see
on.
you.
Yeah, man, it's good to see you. And I've got um, I want to ask you a little bit about Restos, the new record, and I know you're doing a lot of playing out a lot with that record and the new band. And I've yet to see you guys, but sure looking forward to it. Let's start with the record. Talk a little bit about the record. I know it was probably a long time coming. When did that come out? Relatively recently, yeah.
It came out on September 29th,
Okay.
2023.
Yeah.
So
Ain't dead yet.
ain't dead yet. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me ask you about before you talk about the record. Let me just ask you about that song. Is that a co-write with Jamie?
No,
Okay.
no, I wrote that by myself. I wrote it pretty quick during the pandemic, actually. Sometimes, I think we probably both geek out on some of the same interviews and things like that with songwriters. And generally, the common consensus is if it comes quick, it's probably going to be a keeper. And that hadn't happened in a minute for me. But I wrote it. I wrote it with Jamie in mind, though. I can honestly say that. Like the whole time, I was like, I want to have this um, kind of running harmony with her through that song, and she was kind enough to sing it with us. So she's in the group, but she's busier than anybody. So
Yeah.
she's got her own gigs. But when she's around, she sings with us, and she sings a lot on the record. So
Definitely my favorite song on the record. It's one that I want to just hit replay on. Beautiful song. I'm glad you named the record that. I do think it's the again my favorite song on it. Anything to say about it other than pretty obvious? You ain't dead yet. What's kind of inspired you, or what kind of what can you say about that song lyrically?
well, truthfully, it was a pretty literal interpretation of it. I just in I wrote it in 2020. Uh, not at all making light of what everybody went through there, but I mean that was definitely like a bit of, I guess, maybe a personal mantra of resilience, um, because at that time, nobody knew what was going on, and a lot of people were very ill,
Yeah,
and a lot of people didn't make it. So,
yeah,
um, yeah, that was just kind of the thought that maybe if you will it, it is no dream, that type of that type of thing. So, um, yeah, but oddly, that and some of the other songs that were written even before that, they kind of took on different meanings as they've kind of grown into them a little bit.
Sure.
And that one I think is it's a universal thing. I think that a lot of people, were maybe, hoping to hear something positive and up, motivating. And I did it for myself. So
Yeah.
I needed to I needed to think about something positive and think about a future. 'Cause it looked pretty bleak there for a long time, especially for people in like the performing arts where there wasn't a show. So
Yeah. Yeah.
um but that's all. There's plenty of them now. There's a lot of them now. So
Yeah.
we did
Now,
it.
so I know you play a lot of different kind of music. Are you still doing the little jazz combo thing once in a while?
Man, I haven't been. I haven't been, but I did that with Micah Motenko, who I don't know if you've ever talked to, but he's a great guy, really talented uh, songwriter and pianist and singer, and but he got really busy. He's got his own band, and he plays with Sir Woman, I think, and some of those types of projects. I think he's in like 5 or 6 things. So, but we
Mhm.
we just saw each other not too long ago, and I bring it up all the time. I'd love to get in, and we cut an EP so far with a combo, and he was like the band leader. But that was like 6 years ago
Yeah.
when we made that thing. So it's still sitting there, and I consider it to be like a half finished record. And I talked about it with you had Britton Beisenherst on here not too long ago, and he's my co-conspirator on anything
Yeah.
Graham Webber record related, pretty much. So we still would love to go back in and do some more stuff. But as of right now, I haven't been doing a lot of that. Although I did sing. I was in London the day after Tony Bennett passed away, and I went to the St. Pancras. I think I'm saying that right. Hotel by the big train station there, and my friend Meg Kavanaugh is an old friend of ours from college. She was doing a jazz set at this swanky place, and she was kind enough to let me get up and sing "I Left My Heart in San Francisco,"
Nice.
and I love doing it. I love singing those songs. It's just not currently, not
Yeah.
currently.
Well, you're pretty busy. You're pretty
Yeah,
busy. I love to hear that because I'm not sure how aware you are of this, but we're up to episode something like 60 in this series. I can't believe it. It's crazy. And I've got basically two streams. I've got people like yourself and Will Johnson and Jason Lytle and Patterson Hood and I don't know whatever category we want to put those people in. But then I also have Bill Frisell, Joe Lovano, Larry Goldings, Jonathan Blake, all these amazing jazz musicians, because those are the two things I love. And so I think it confuses some people, but that's okay. That's okay. Variety again is the spice of life. And do you do many solo gigs? Just maybe you and an acoustic guitar. Do you do that very often?
well, I used to. That's how I supported myself for years.
Mhm.
And I'm doing some more now. Um, I wasn't because I had a full-time job. I was working well over 40 hours a week,
Mhm.
and that was fine. I was involved in music and working with a lot of artists, but to go take a solo gig and not have that time with my family.
Yeah.
When I also had Restos, I had the
Right.
band, whatever form it was in, but it was that's kind of where I sort of focused my attention. But I do no, I have been doing some more. I've got some more things coming up. Uh, Hopefully some more like private solo gigs. They
Okay. Okay.
will help stop the bleeding a little bit.
Yeah,
But
right on. And we'll talk about a few of those things hopefully that you have coming up. But I also just know I'll put show notes on this so people can see what's coming up for you. Let's go back to the record a little bit. It's a big rock record. It really reminds me of Petty. I hope you take that in a good way.
it's not by coincidence. Yeah, I mean that was definitely that was definitely the thought. I'm honored to hear you, you know, and anytime people have said that, it's a compliment as far as I'm concerned. You know,
Yeah, absolutely.
that is one of my all-time favorite bands, and our band is, we're all fans.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
um,
Who else would you expect people, or have you heard people reference?
yeah, you know, I don't. There's, I mean, again, very high compliment to hear, you know, Wilco mentioned from time to time.
Yep.
Um, Sometime, and oddly different different times in their canon are mentioned, which that some of them kind of surprises me, but that, you know, there again, that's probably, you know, that's definitely one of my favorite bands. So
Yeah, yeah,
there's,
yeah.
you know, it's pretty easy to trace where we're coming from on this
Sure.
one. um then the next record, which we're going to start working on, I mean, pretty early next year. Still writing some of it, but it'll be a lot. It'll be different. It'll still be a rock and roll record, but we're gonna kind of dip into some different. There'll still be, you know, similar things to what we have on this one, of course, but you know, we're trying to stretch out a little bit, and you know, whatever rock and roll means to people is always very it's a personal, you know, how do you categorize it, you know, that's the kind of thing. So uh we have 5 guys in the band, we're all writing these songs together,
Mhm.
and so we're really kind of leaning into more of the 5 of what are the 5 of us, what kind of stew can we make, you know, what kind of
Yeah.
influences can we all take from different things that um you know, there's stuff that I never really listened to that much that, like, maybe Mark Nathan, our guitar player, really digs, or Brian Bow, our drummer, really likes. And he's like, when he listens to music, he listens to a lot of pop music. He listens to all kinds of things, but
Mhm.
he can come from a different, you know, we can kind of all come from different places, and make something hopefully that's has a fresh feel to it. That
Yeah.
maybe there's touchstones that, you know, people can get something out of it. Maybe if we do it right, then maybe enough people will find something they like in those songs, and uh, and want to listen to them. You know, so.
Yeah. Does it you mentioned earlier you wrote "Ain't Dead Yet" more or less for yourself. Does that there's various ways this thing has been said, but basically and might have been Jeff Tweedy actually I heard it from, speaking of Wilco, but it certainly resonates with me. I write stuff that I wanna hear.
Yeah,
Does that resonate with you?
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And the nice thing with the band that, you know, I write, you know, other songs that I do under my own name, and or just solo or whatever. Um with the band songs, the cool thing is that you have a very good focus group. So if the 5 of us, if somebody, you know, calls it out and says, you know, this has been done, or this is not good, you know, or this isn't good enough,
Mhm.
then we work on it more. And
Yeah,
there's a comfort factor that the 5 of us have with each other, a really good working relationship as far as the creative process goes. And um so if we all like it, and we're all happy to play it, because we're the ones that have to go out and play it all the time. um sure, you want to like it, you know, you
yeah.
want to be proud of it, but it has to be enjoyable to do. And I think you play better, and you get into it more if you yeah, if it's something that you would want to hear. So
You know, I that's that really makes sense to me, on several levels. It's so hard to be objective, man. It's so hard to be objective about your own stuff, especially when you've been close to it for a while. Um, and sort of becomes codified in your mind, and you don't know if it's any good or not. I mean, you think it is at times, and then the next day you think it's shit, and it's so weird the way that works. And I'm no longer playing in a band. I more or less have a band together, but they're scattered all over the place. and I do miss that a little bit. As you know, I send out songs and song fragments to my friends periodically, and part of that is just say, "Man, give me some feedback. This feels
Yeah.
good. I don't know. I don't know." And you know, it's I've taught writing before, business writing, as well as I taught literature and technical writing and several other things. And that same thing applies to just objective writing of any sort. Uh, there's that phenomenon where you write something and someone says, "I don't know what this means," and you say, "What do you mean? It's obvious what it means." Yeah, it's obvious to you because when you read it, it means what you wanted it to mean. And so, even
Right.
on that level, objectivity has got to be one of the most difficult things. Other than bouncing it off the band, do you have any other ways that you deal with that difficulty?
Um, yeah, I mean, I have a few people really good old friends. Actually, one of them passed away very suddenly this year.
Sorry.
But he was a guy who uh, yeah, I would if I had something I thought was all right, or if I didn't know.
Hmm.
I got a couple people like that, but it's it's a really personal thing, and I also think people can be. I think it's very easy to fall into the trap of feeling too precious about something,
Yeah.
which is nice about like working with the band on those songs because the gloves are off. Like we're not we're we're, we're trying to make something all together.
Hmm.
So even if even if I have what I think is a complete song and I think it's pretty good, um, I can't. It'd be very hypocritical of me to come in and say like, no, it goes this way.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
unless I really. I mean, I'd fight for it if I had to, but
Yeah.
um, generally I'd rather get some feedback, some creative feedback.
Yeah.
I think that's the other thing that it's hard to come by is for people. It's tough, if someone asks me to like give them a critique of a song, like it's I don't really know what to say half the time because I
Hmm.
don't know what they're I don't know what the what they want to hear, or
Right.
what the end result is intended
Yeah.
to be.
Yeah.
Um,
Sometimes it's
but
just
I can say if I like it or not, and be like,
exactly.
yeah, it's got legs, like it's got,
Yeah. Sometimes
it's
that's
like
all I think that's all and it's hard to say to people, "Yeah, I don't really like this." But I think it's a gift when you do it. You know, you say, "Yeah, this one doesn't really work for me." It's hard to do that. A lot of people don't want to give that kind of feedback, but it's a gift because you're putting yourself out there and being honest with someone, and that doesn't mean the song's bad. It just means it didn't resonate with me, you know? So,
yeah, and I mean it's such a fine line too because for most things in my life, like I really appreciate what I don't like to do and I don't like to have happen to me with like any kind of problem or issue is like somebody bitching and then not having a solution or having some
yeah,
sort of alternative,
yeah,
you know.
yeah,
So if
yeah,
I give if somebody asks me something especially about art, which is so, subjective,
yeah,
uh if it's a songwriting thing, you know, it's also so like awkward that you don't want to overstep and you don't,
yeah,
but sometimes I'll be like, the chorus is working great, or whatever,
yeah,
like
yeah,
your B section is solid, the bridge is solid, whatever.
yeah, yeah,
Or maybe consider,
yeah,
maybe don't rhyme this or something, I
yeah.
don't know, or like
Or
how's another way to say this?
that one phrase is a little bit cliche. Maybe you could turn that phrase around or something and make it more interesting. That kind of feedback,
Yeah,
I love to get that. Well,
well, that's the
go ahead,
best
man.
kind to give. Yeah, if
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have
yeah, yeah,
something. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, let's see. You had just want to maybe speak about some of the highlights of 2023 with you, and then maybe going forward 2024, some of the plans. Obviously, the new record, the new band is a big highlight of 2023. You just got back from New York City, is that right? You played up in New York and did something with Adam Duritz, which has got to be a highlight of the year for you.
Yeah, it was really great. Yeah, I just got back the day before last, and man, it was awesome. I hadn't been to New York. I was with the guys. We went up and Jamie was with us, and pre COVID in 2019, and man, it was just nice to be back up there. Honestly, I love that city,
Mhm.
and we had a couple of shows. We played a club gig with my friend's band, my friend Billy Keene's band called the Whiskey Treaty Road Show on Thursday night. And that was a lot of fun. We had a good crowd, and that's always better. You know, we had good crowds for everything, which was great. And then on Friday, the reason that the impetus for us to go was that we were asked to be part of a thing called the Underwater Sunshine Festival, which I had known about for years. I'm a pretty big fan of the band Counting Crows. I was a big fan um, back in the '90s and through the early 2000s, and I'm still a fan. I still listen to their records a lot. Um, but some of them really like I have a lot of memories attached to. Um, Quite a few of their songs and their records. So um, just by some people I know and a group called the Music Treatment Foundation here, which had Dr. Alton is the head medical professional. He's a hand surgeon, well renowned surgeon. And years ago, I thought I was going to have hand surgery at my left hand, and I got a free consult from him, and he said I didn't, and it you know, saved me a year's pay probably at that time, on a surgery I didn't need. So I'd gotten to know some of the people that work there, and they're a big presenter at that, I think. So I don't exactly I'd been introduced to some of the people that work for it over the years, but this year it worked out, and we got to go up there and play. So we the day before we played, we did a thing called the Garden Sessions, like an acoustic strip down
Mm.
videotaping, which will be out. It may be out by the time this is up, but it may not be. I don't know. But so we went to Adam Duritz's very cool apartment, and they had all these cameras set up, and we played for. It was like a lot of the festival staff, and Adam was uh, he wasn't there in the room when we got there when we got checked, and then uh, about this the second song, we all sort of looked up and it's like, oh, there's that guy. There's the guy that
There he is.
I've been listening to for a long time,
Yeah.
And uh he was very, very kind and very supportive, and was paying attention, taking an interest in what we were doing, and then we played at the Bowery Electric the next night for the actual festival, and he was great. He watched our whole show. He sat on the side of the stage, and it was very, very kind, and that's just a it's sometimes this thing's kind of cool for different reasons, and that was very cool for me. Um so yeah, I don't know what'll happen after this, but I have some ideas that he can have if he wants them. He can take
Yeah.
us out on the to open up or whatever, but it's
Yeah.
just
That would.
nice to meet a lot of nice people, and everyone in that organization was so kind, um uh and we played pretty good, I think, and people had a good time. We made some new fans, uh and we got to eat all the foods that I don't get to have here in Austin. So
Yeah. Yeah, I
that
love
was
New York City, man. I get up there at least once a year and sometimes twice. And now my daughter's living there. She moved there this summer.
yeah,
And so she's up in Washington Heights, up
yeah.
north of Harlem. And so with her there, we'll definitely be visiting a couple times a year. And I always go to the Village Vanguard when I'm there. Have you been to the Vanguard?
I have not this trip, but I have been there. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
such a it's such a mecca, man. It's such a beautiful place.
Now there's just history. I mean, there's history here as well. There
Yes.
is, but to me, it's always been like I never got to get my mail in New York.
Mhm.
I'd spent a lot of time up there over the years, and just I'm always kind of fascinated with the place. It's
Yeah.
such a cool city, and yeah, like I did like, geez, this was like 10 years, over 10 years ago, well over 10, probably 12, 13 years ago. I booked some shows in the Village and stayed at the Chelsea, and did my whole Bob Dylan reality tour for myself. Um, but
Nice.
the jazz stuff, I mean, yeah, the Village Center, I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Every place has got something like that, though. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's up there. There's you know, this guy was, whoever, was too many. I can't think of a specific example at the top of my head,
Yeah.
but you know, like when you're in a place, you're like, oh man, stuff happened here. You know.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you walk down those stairs into the Village Vanguard, and you realize that Miles played there, and Thelonious Monk played there, and Sonny Rollins played there, and Bill Evans played there, and it's just, the spirits are pretty obvious there. It's a really cool place. Well, look, man, maybe mention. Do you have one or two other highlights of 2023 that come to mind?
Yeah. Yeah, I spent in the summertime. I got out of this Texas heat, and I went over to England, and I toured with my friends. They're a band called Our Man in the Field. They're really cool British act. And my buddy Alex is the singer and songwriter for that band, and we had a great run around the north. Um, of England, and played in London, and just had a great time. And I'm hoping to, the goal with my stuff under my own name, and stuff with Restos and everything is really, it's not being shy about it. We want to go play in Europe a lot more. So
Good, good.
that was a nice little kind of toe in the water post pandemic. Pre-pandemic, that was gonna be the thing. We were ready to go, and, you know, stuff happens.
You know that
Uh,
that could be
but
big for you. I could see you guys going over really well, doing a couple tours over there, get to the continent and up in the UK, and that could be really important. I encourage you to do that right away.
trying our best.
Yeah,
It's a 5 piece,
yeah,
but no, we're hoping, we're hoping to be able to announce some things here in the early part of the year.
cool.
We've been invited to do some stuff, and we gotta make sure it it it's affordable, and it vibes with the five grown people, who all have, families and things like
Yes,
that,
yeah,
to go over. And it takes a few trips, to start, God willing, to start making some money on doing those trips. But
yeah,
one of the reasons that I think all of us kind of decided to do this in general in the beginning, was one of them is to see places we've never been before,
sure,
go
sure.
experience the world. And if you can get, you know, if you can rationalize it, maybe not get paid so much, but get paid enough to make it work, for you, and widen your scope of the world,
Hmm.
and experience new things. And
Yeah.
uh, that's the goal. So, and they don't and there's not, I haven't heard the rock and roll coming
Right.
from Europe. Not a lot of it. There's some, but we can provide an American rock and roll band if they're looking for one. So
And they really appreciate it. There's a great story that several of the guys in Centromatic have told me. There was a time when they thought they were going to split up. This is way back. It just wasn't happening for them. They just felt like they were beating their heads against the wall, and they're in Europe, and they'd had some problems. They had one particular show in Spain that just was magic for them, and they realized, my God, these people are singing along with our songs. They know us over here. We've been over here several times, but it finally kind of hit that, kind of crested, and it gave them incentive to stay together another, I don't know, 10 years or something after that. So I think that could be big for you, man. I sure look forward to hearing about that. Let's talk about 2024. I'll be self-serving and say I know one of the first things you have coming up in 2024 is the Steve Earle birthday bash at Cherrywood Coffee House on January 14th. Thank you for agreeing to be a part of that.
yeah, man, thanks for asking me. It'll be fun.
It is going to be fun. What else do you have coming up? I know actually we don't have to go to 2024. This thing will be released on December 1st. And so what do you have going on in December and then in early 2024?
Yeah, well, let's see. I'm flying up to Chicago. I'm doing a thing for the city of Austin at the very beginning of December. So when this comes out, I'll be in Chicago, which will be cool. Um, and then yeah, we've got some shows. I'm getting back together for one night with my buddies, Colin Gilmore, Bonnie Whitmore, and Betty Sue. We used to all have a group 7, 8 years ago before I joined up with the guys I'm playing with now. But I love them all. We're all still really good friends, but everybody's busy and everybody's kind of gone on to other things. So we're getting back together with the CBGB band. It was There's nothing to do with the now defunct club.
Yeah,
That's like a
well,
men's
of
store
course
now.
it
I
does.
worked right by it.
You
I
can't
was
you you can't have a name like that and say it doesn't have anything to do with it. Of course it does. I mean, it's gonna reference that for sure. Yeah,
Well, of course it does,
yeah.
but it's our first letter of all 4 of our
Yeah, I
names.
get it, I get it. It's very clever, man. I dig it. I dig it,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, but yeah, we're gonna get
When
back
is that
together.
show?
That's on the 15th of December. That's a
Okay,
Friday night, and that'll be at the O4 Center.
okay.
And we'll have some special guests that I can neither confirm nor deny right now. But we'll have some other friends come out. But we're gonna do like a holiday reunion thing. It won't be a lot. It'll be a lot of our, mostly our original songs. But I'm really excited about that one. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I love that space, and the people at the O4 Center are great. And that'll be a nice way to kind of get into the holidays even more. And then the next night, Restos will be playing down at a new club in Martindale, Texas, called Duets. That a lot of my buddies are playing at. A lot of people, like everybody, they're booking pretty much. I think is really great. They're doing a great job with this club, and we're gonna share that night with our friends, Tender Things, Jesse and Mark, Jesse Eboff from that band, and Mark Nathan in our band. They both used to play together in Heartless Bastard. So that'll be sort of another reunion. We've never done a show with them. We've just been, you know, buddies with those guys, with Jesse and stuff for quite a while. And so that's on the 16th in Martindale. And then we've got a 2 night stand. That's how Restos finishes up the year. We're gonna do the last Friday and Saturday of the year, the 29th and 30th, at Seaboys, which is we did 2 months of residency there this year, the before and after the release at the Continental Club. So Steve Wertheimer and Celeste and Diana and everybody, Diane, they're just been great. Everybody's been awesome, and Seaboys has definitely become our kind of home club. So we asked for a night, and they gave us two. So the first night will be a little more on the rock and roll side of things. We'll have Booer, was one of my favorite acts. Great, Mike Booer is an awesome dude, and his band just blew me away when I went and checked him out. Hadn't seen him play for a while, and I just saw him about a month ago, and they were great. And Ja Texas is going to be joining us on that one too, and they're really cool. We just did a festival with them, and we were all sitting listening to them. We're like, we all like this. Let's ask these guys to do this. So,
Nice.
and then the 30th, the Saturday night will be a little more of like an Americana rock and roll kind of thing, with our buddies Harvest Thieves, who I know you know,
Mhm.
and West Texas Exiles, who
Okay.
are also good pals of ours. So. Um, that's how we're going to end the year, and then we'll get in. We're going to take a little break on playing out in January into into early February, and try to finish these songs, and maybe even get in the studio a little bit if we
Nice.
can.
Nice. Do you think it's possible to get another record out in 2024, or is 2025 more likely?
I I think we can get one done. Honestly, yeah, I think I'm sure we can if the songs are right.
Yeah.
I'm
Cool.
not worried about getting in the studio and getting production moving at a good clip, and um these guys are aces, and there are certain things that we I think we've all learned how to kind of eliminate some roadblocks and finishing projects, and so I think we're ready to do it. I want to make sure that the songs are the
Yeah.
right songs, and hopefully uh the reason it wouldn't come out, if we self-release it, then it would come out in 24, and if somebody else wants to put it out,
Yeah.
happy to wait on that. If somebody else
Sure.
wants to do some
Sure.
help out with it a little bit, um but we may end up cutting. We're going to tape that end of the year 2 night stand, and
Oh,
if
good.
we get some stuff out of that, we'll have two pretty decent length sets. So if we get a couple good takes out of that, we may release a live thing or something, if nothing
Beautiful.
else.
Yeah, and fantastic. Well, man, let's finish up here. I don't ever want to talk to you without mentioning the bagel dates because it's such a charming thing that you have with your daughter, and I think I've mentioned to you before. I have two daughters myself. It's really cool to see you maintaining that thing, and your girl's growing up, man.
Dude,
How old is she now?
she's 8, almost 8 and a half, if you were to ask her. She's yeah, man, I brought on Sunday this week, I was in New York. I woke up in Little Italy, and I'd scouted out, you know, bagel places all around the Lower East Side, and I found a good one. So I woke up and I was the first person to get in because that was part of my souvenir for her, was to bring home bagels. So I got some big ones, and while I was in the air, she introduced an author at the Texas State Book Fair. Like, she got up on stage and she had, notes, or she was one of the students that was asked to introduce an author. She loves to read, and she writes books all the time, and
Fantastic.
she's acting in a play, and
Oh man.
it's very she's an awesome kid.
Isn't
She's
it a joy, man? Isn't it a joy? My daughter is in New York because she's in musical theater, and that's all she's ever wanted to do her whole life. And my oldest, and just yeah, watching her on stage is there's nothing like that, man. There's nothing like that. But I'm so impressed with the fact that you break a little bit of the mold of the old cliche rock and roller. You're a great dad and a family man, as well as being a rock and roll guy. So that's really cool, and I admire you for that.
Well, that's, that all that other stuff is bullshit. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Oh,
Like,
I know.
that's
I know, but we
everybody doing that is, I see no I'm not very good at social media. You know what I mean? But I do know that, you can put into it what you want to put into it, and you can get out of it what you can get out of it. And, you know, the reason we started doing that was to kind of give my wife a little break,
Mhm.
so she could have a little time for herself, and we would
Sure.
go out and get bagels, or do something on Sunday mornings.
Yeah.
And uh and then it just became just this thing. I love that we have something that we do together every week. And then if we put a picture, I don't, I'm sure somebody doesn't care for that, and I don't really care if they do or don't, because it's not for them. It's really for me to kind of put just some sort of positivity out there.
Yeah.
And we have fun doing it. And um she came and introduced us at our Waterloo Records in store, which she told me she was going to. And
Wow, man, that's so
um
cool.
yeah, so
Yeah.
it's the band's a family, it's a family business. And
Yeah.
um she's a big fan. She's a big so she likes to be a part of it, but not too much. She maintains that she's her own person,
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
her own interest.
Well,
So
man, it's inspiring to me, and I'm glad you do it. Well, let's see. Speaking of, you said she's a big reader. What have you been reading lately? Anything in particular that you could share?
well, I've been reading with her. That's that's been the big thing. What I am gonna start doing, though, I actually was gonna ask you if you had any good recommendations, because I I have real problems getting to sleep. And but when I read with her every night. And generally when I'm doing that, like, I'm laying in her bed with her reading, and then I get really tired.
Mhm.
But I and then, like, I'll get a little bit of time with my wife, and we'll watch, like, the Great British Bake Off or something. And then I'm awake, and then I end up watching, like, you know
Yeah.
old wrestling clips on YouTube, or like whatever NBA game is on in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I actually really need to kind of sink my teeth into some books.
Okay.
um because I need some ideas to finish this album. So what have you been reading, John?
Well, I have actually been reading Jeff Tweedy's new book, which
Oh,
is
good.
It's a lot of fun. You know, he's got it's Jeff. You know, I mean, when you read it, it's just like he's sitting there talking to you. And it's really interesting book in that he's I don't. Do you know about the book?
I do. I've listened to a couple interviews,
Yeah,
but I
yeah,
haven't gotten it yet. I'm
yeah.
thinking in about what is today? Well, if this comes out on December 1st, I'm thinking in about 24 days I may end up being a proud owner of it. I have a sneaking suspicion I'm probably gonna get that book for
Yeah,
Christmas.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's definitely a good read. It's a breezy read. If you've not read Will Johnson's novel,
I haven't read Will's novel, and I should. I love
I
that
think
guy.
it's called If and When I Call, I think it's called. But man, you know, I expected it to be pretty good, but I thought, well, you know, look, is he going to be good at this too? And yeah, he is. He is. Anything by Ron Rash, I highly recommend.
Ron
RAS.
Rath. Okay.
RASH. Yeah, he's fantastic. I've got a lot of other recommendations I can give you, and also I have recommendations for falling asleep too. I One of the things I do is I teach meditation, and there's some really great sleep meditations that I can offline maybe point you to if you want, if you're interested in that.
Please do. That would be
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
That'd be great. I think I will get Will's book. I was gonna buy it. I thought maybe, I might have attempted to buy it and then like it didn't go through or something at one point, but
Mhm,
um I think the world of him, man. He's a really nice guy and I mean crazy talented dude. I've got a painting I commissioned hanging up. That's why I was looking to see if I could
mhm.
throw it on, but the rest of this room is a
There's
little
two of
rough
his right
around right
here.
now. Where's the Will print? Oh, I see it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this one is Bill Frisell, and this one's Thelonious Monk. And they're not prints; they're originals that I commissioned. Uh, so yeah, my brother has one of his hanging in his bar. That is, I can't think of the guy's name. It's one of the St. Louis Cardinals. But yeah, love his work, man. Love his work. I do recommend his book. Um, well, look, man, let's finish it up. Thank you very much for your time. Oh, one more question. What have you been listening to lately?
Yeah, well, I have been listening to some stuff. So we just did a North Texas run with two of our buddies, a guy named Daniel Markham, who
Yep.
you may know Daniel.
Daniel's gonna be on the on this series soon. Yeah,
All right,
yeah,
yeah. That'll be. I'll definitely watch that. I adore him, and we did one of his songs on this record. It's called "I Came Here to Rock and Roll,"
yeah.
uh,
Great song.
and he got to, he got up and sang it with us and stuff on this run, and it was
Yeah,
so fun.
yeah,
I love him, and he's gonna be putting out something new in the first part of the year. We're trying to bring
yeah.
that show. It was Daniel Markham and Matthew McNeil, and I don't know if you know Matthew or not, but he'd be
No.
somebody I really think you'd enjoy talking to him. You won't
Okay.
find a nicer guy, and he does all kinds of stuff. Him and his partner, business partner, his name's Andre Black. They have a studio, and then they also do a lot of production stuff. But um, he put out an EP when we were up there a couple weeks ago, and I really like it. So I mean, anything he does, I really like. Um, what else have I been listening to? I do like the new Wilco record. Um, and I mean, honestly, I've been listening. Again, it's a lot. I'm trying to spend as much time with my daughter as possible, but I've now know pretty much every Billie Eilish song by heart from driving around. And I gotta say, if you'd have told me a couple years ago that I would be a big fan of Billie Eilish, I probably would have been like, well, I know what I would have said. I said, I don't know who that is. That's
Yeah,
what I would have said.
yeah, yeah.
Even though she was a big deal, that wasn't in my, orbit.
Right.
And man, I really like it.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
they're
She's
really
great.
smart songs. I think the production's great. I
Yeah.
think um so I've been listening to a lot of that. And I took her to see Billie Eilish in Atlanta, just the two
Nice.
of us. And that was crazy. It was great. She did a great show. Um so a lot of that, and then yeah, I mean, still, I think we're in the same way. Like when I'm just kind of chilling. Oh, the new Ben Folds record I liked a lot.
Okay.
I went and saw him too, but I like that album
Okay.
quite a
I'll
bit.
check that out. Yeah.
But at home, I mean, I'm still listening to Coltrane, man. I mean, that's what I when I need to relax, I put Train on, or you know, yeah, there it is. That
Yeah.
that record, actually. I listened to that very record.
Such a great record.
Um,
Such a great record.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's what's, I have been opening up a little bit and listening to a band called The Record a little bit. Can you remember that band? Like
Yes,
in,
I do. I don't
um,
I do remember the name. Yeah.
yeah, they had a song. We heard a song of theirs on a KXT when we were in North Texas, and I think we're gonna start playing it. I was
Oh,
like, "What is
cool.
this?" And Mark was like, I love this." And so, always kind of searching and looking, listening for different stuff. And honestly, the other thing I've been listening to is I'm doing a Tom Waits thing on on December 7th. I'm doing a
Nice.
Blaze Foley thing here in Austin about about a week later, and then I got to do I don't have to. I'm happy to be doing it. A Steve Earle thing with you.
Yeah.
So uh I'm gonna I've been listening to a lot of Counting Crows too, actually, for the
Yeah.
last week or
Yeah.
so, just because I've been
For the Tom Waits
nerding
thing,
out.
if you're not already planning on it, I would urge you. I'd love to hear you do The Long Way Home.
Oh God, I love that song.
Yeah.
You know what song I'm not gonna do that one, but it's a great song. Do you remember when he was on right before Letterman retired? There was a song called "Take One Last Look." He hasn't recorded on an album, but
Mm-mm.
you should Google that and look on YouTube. It's Waits Letterman, like end of Letterman, One Last Look. Man, that's a killer. But I think for this thing, I think that my wife's gonna come out and sing with me.
Oh,
We've
nice.
gotta find a sitter. We used to sing together all the time, and we used to do a Tom Waits song together. So I think she's gonna come out and do one with me, and then I'm gonna do one off of the Ballers from the box set.
Hmm.
Um, uh, if I have to go, I think that'll
Mm.
be the one I do.
Okay.
So I do a couple of those, and then, a Blaze tune, and then I got to luckily, I got my fix in early, so I get to do the Steve Earle songs that I
Yeah.
have played
Yep.
before and
Yep.
really enjoy playing, so,
Yeah.
um
I hate to be pushy on that, but at the same time, I'm doing it for you guys. It's like, hey, claim your songs now because
oh,
if you
it
don't, you're gonna go, shit. I want to do. Oh man, I wanted to do that one, but I think we.
well, I got right back to you. John, I put
I
those
know you
shows
did.
on. I put those,
You were you were the
I
first. You were the first. So yeah. Hey man, thank you so much for doing this again. Always a pleasure talking to you. I'm inspired now to get over to Austin to see one or two of those things you're doing coming up, and if I do, I'll definitely say hi to you.
Hey, yeah, come to the end of the year at Sea Boys. That's gonna be a party, man. It's gonna be a lot of fun, and we're excited to play for you. We're excited to play for anybody right now. We're
Yeah.
we're feeling good. We got our show down pretty well, and everybody's happy to be doing it. So we'd love to have everybody and anybody come out and see us and
Well,
get a little rock and roll in their lives.
well,
So
you're a good man, and it's good to see that you're in a good place now. And I wish you all the best, and hope to see you soon, man.
thanks, John. It's great to talk to you, buddy.
All right, take care.
See you, man.